When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Off and running another hour together. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. And without fail, like I said, watching Caleb Williams play quarterback in the NFL might shave years off of fans' lives. I'll tell you that. And sure enough, without fail, Caleb Williams has single-handedly brought this Eagles team right back into this game. Now 10-9. But on a 2nd and 1, Tom, and maybe you can help me understand, once again, DeAndre Swift, who's got to be approaching 100 yards if he's not over it already, was just basically, they were running it down the throat of Philadelphia, got it to the Philly 40-yard line on a 2nd 1, and they try to throw a dinky screen in which he throws it into the hands of the linebacker that was waiting. We saw it coming from a million miles away. Kind of hard to believe Ben Johnson didn't, but now here we go. Eagles have a chance now to take the lead and put more points on the board.
Swift was breaking off 6-8-yard runs every time he was touching the ball on that drive. You have 2nd and 1. You have multiple chances essentially to pick up a first down, and we do whatever with this play calling. And, that's not the first tipped ball that the Eagles on defense have had. They had the one that went super high up into the air. And what we're seeing from the Bears, again, this is going to be just the story of 2 halves. And it's going to be the story of what could have been. The Bears could have been up 17-3. They could have been up 20-10 or whatever it could have been. And they're just leaving points on the board. The inefficiency on offense. Caleb Williams is 11 of 28. And this is not to say that Hurts has been good. Hurts is 8 of 16. He's 50%. Like, they're not doing anything on offense outside of that one drive, and yet they're in this game in a position to take the lead if we don't have a fumble from the Eagles here.
Yeah, and they are, and it looks like the tush push. It looks like the Bears stopped it, and there was a fumble by Jalen Hurts on the tush push, and it looks like, it looks like, well, he certainly didn't get the first down, but it looks like he wasn't holding on to the ball either, and they didn't blow the whistle. So that looks to be a ball out on the ground, and it looks like somehow a Bears defender under all of those bodies in a tush-push formation somehow managed to come away with it. What a play, Tom, by the defense of the Bears.
honestly, this is just the tush push coming back to bite the Eagles. Where they do this, the refs don't call the play dead. He's clearly not on the ground because he's on top of 3-4 bodies or whatever, because he's being pushed forward. So he's not touching the ground. His knee or elbow is not down. And they're not blowing the play dead because they allow him to push forward. And some DB, whoever, I think it was Wright, number 26 on the Bears, comes through and rips the ball out of Hurts' hands. And now they have a turnover. So it does appear to be Bears ball. They're 2.5-point underdogs, 32.5 total, Joe, and 4:30 left in the third quarter now.
And again, they are now leading the turnover battle in this game. It's just unbelievable what has been going on here and how Caleb Williams is getting away with what he is getting away with. That defense, another big turnover for him, and that's at the best time too, because it was a 3rd and 1, right inside the 10-yard line. That even if they didn't get it, which it looked like they were short, they would have gone for it again, I'm sure, right? They would have went for it again. So that could be the play of the game right there for this Bears defense. But can they can they continue to move the ball down the field? I don't know how many more times they're going to give Caleb Williams an opportunity to keep throwing it to the Eagles players, but time will tell on this one. That is a huge play. And I don't know if there's any way. It wasn't like the refs were calling, hey, it was dead, like we blew the whistle. So they weren't calling for inadvertent whistles. They actually waited till everyone got off the pile to see who had the ball. So I don't know what could be reviewed or overturned on this spot, but it seems like Jalen Hurts wasn't putting up an argument that it was a fumble.
Right. And listen, again, if they're not blowing the play dead, we're in a commercial timeout, but if they're not blowing the play dead and they're allowing him to be pushed forward, that means he's still an active runner. That means everything's live. He's not on the ground. The ball's in play. They're showing a replay now as we come out of commercial break, but number 26 on the Bears rips it out of Hurts' hands. And if the play is yet to be blown dead for forward momentum or what have you, that is a turnover on Hurts. So, and credit to the Bears. The Bears have the ball. They're lining up to run a play. So I assume they'll start off with a run here, as they should be, keeping the ball. And what do you know? They're going to pick up big yards. Was this Kyle Manung guy out to the 50-yard line nearly? A huge play to start that drive. And I assume the Bears need to be jumping to a favorite at this point.
Yeah, and I would also assume stop having Caleb Williams throw the ball, Ben Johnson. That'd be great. Stop it. Just keep doing what you're doing here. Unbelievable. What a turn of events here when you just thought it couldn't go any more in favor of the Eagles. Just like that, the defense bails them out again, and they are once again 2-1 in the turnover department. And now I think they're going to be eating up a whole lot of clock. Now, one more, let's say a touchdown here, 17-9. That's going to be tough here for the Eagles, given what we've seen from them here at this point. Unless they do something stupid, I think a touchdown puts them sitting pretty here with 3 minutes to go in the third.
It does. 17-9. Eagles get the ball back. They're going to come down and this is where they're going to start going for 2. Right. So we are it is still a controllable game for the Eagles. Even if they give up the touchdown, it is still a game within reach for the Eagles. It is quickly approaching the other side of that, though, where their offense continues to make these mistakes. And then the Bears go out and score a field goal, and then it's 20-9. The Eagles are up against it. I will say, if you have a ticket in your pocket for the under, you are looking good at 34.5 now. Outside of that, this game is completely up in the air, which is good. Like, it's been a gross game, but it is good to see things still live as we approach the fourth quarter.
I agree. It's very good here. But both guys, could we get 2? I mean, Swift over 100 yards on the ground? Because the other guy with that run has got to be pretty close too, no?
Yeah, Swift is at 107. Kyle Manungai, their backup, is at 93 after that long run. They picked up a few more, but I think we have a false start on so they're up to 223 on the ground. 223 for the Bears on the ground is fantastic.
Wow. I'm just saying that is I did not see that coming against this defense in any way, shape, or form, but This is exactly what the Bears needed to do, own the line of scrimmage and give that running game an opportunity to get going, and they are. And, I mean, they are just dominating that line of scrimmage. It's kind of crazy. But we'll see. Still a lot of football to go here. 2 minutes to go. It'll be a big second down, but I think the Bears need to get some points. It's been a while since they've had any here at this point. No, Tom, what was it? First, they get everything in the first quarter, or did they score in the second quarter?
I think it was all first quarter for them that they had those. So they've now gone almost 2 quarters without scoring. And it's, the Eagles defense is good. Like, they are giving up a ton of yards on the ground, but they're also not giving up, touchdowns. So credit to the Eagles defense. Caleb Williams has been just terrible tonight. But the run game for them continues to succeed. Picking up more yards here. They're going to be approaching third down. I think this is a passing situation, unfortunately, for the Bears. And this is where the question comes in. Can Caleb Williams just do enough just to pick up first downs? You don't need to win the game. Just pick up a first down.
Yep. I love it. I think keep running the ball, force them to stop it. 107 yards, 102 for the other guy, 209 yards on the ground against this vaunted Eagles defense. Who saw that coming here? Unbelievable. Great job. But then there's Caleb Williams, who is completing less than 50% of his passes. And here he goes again. All they seem to be throwing are these ridiculous screen passes. Tom, you see what they're doing here? I think they're going for it on fourth down. We'll be back to tell you exactly what happens on In-Game Live Game Day.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back In-Game Live Game Day, and we got an update for you with the Eagles and the Bears, and this is turning out to be a absolutely huge drive by the Bears, who converted a 4th and 5 with Loveland. It looked like Blankenship fell down. Loveland gets the first down, and then they go right to the ground, and now it looks like they're right around the 20-yard line of the Eagles when they start the fourth quarter. Huge. I mean, this is now if they can finish this drive here with a touchdown, you got to love the chances of what's going on here with the Eagles. With the Bears, Tom, no?
Yeah, you have to. And the way this third quarter has played out has been nothing but essentially a dream if you have the under. So the Bears have the ball. It's 2nd and 1. End of the third quarter just rolled around. But we have looked at punt, interception, punt, the one touchdown from the Eagles, interception, fumble, and it's the current drive for the Bears. No team has done anything like it's the first, like the teams are playing like they don't want to win the game. That's what it's like. These two teams are vying for the first overall pick. It's like, it's not even like the first team to make a mistake loses a game, as we also, we say in a lot of games, like the first team to actually show some competence will just win this game. And it's not even going to be like by a large margin. It just show a little bit of competency on offense. And like we were talking about this during halftime. If Caleb Williams had completed 3 more passes, they would be running away with this game. 3 more first downs. This would be 17-9, 20-9, and it would be over.
Yep. Oh, they are now saying that there's an announcement, by the way, breaking news, announcement on Lane Kiffin's future expected tomorrow. But there is a report that Florida is shifting its focus away from Kiffin, and that Kiffin is considering the lucrative contract offer from LSU. But again, whether it's LSU or Florida, it leaves a whole lot of questions about what do you do with this Ole Miss team that, 38-19, they handled their business. This is now 11-win season. They are in all likelihood already qualified for the college football playoff. But I don't know if he goes to LSU, there's no way LSU is going to be like, oh, go ahead and win the national championship. You'll be fine. Like there. And if I'm Ole Miss, I'm like, you got to go, dude. Like there's no way I'm keeping, then what do you do to the team that now has gone all this way and the guy pulling all the strings is leaving? It's just an awful situation for Ole Miss.
It really is. And I got to be honest, like if you were holding an Ole Miss future to win the national champion, I mean, what do you like? This is I don't have a ticket on anyone, but I would say if you have a ticket on Ole Miss, this is like worst case scenario. They've come this far, they look great, and all of a sudden the coach is going to be pulled, and it's nothing that the players can do about it. So do they rally around themselves and pull themselves up by the bootstraps and show that he wasn't the reason, and they can go out and still win games, or is it just that ticket you could crumble it up and rip it up at this point?
Well, that to me is very interesting too, right? So he either stays in Oxford or he leaves and they rally around and win a national championship without him. What a story that would be. But they are, one way or another, they're holding off until tomorrow to get that story. So we'll see what happens there. Unbelievable. And also 2nd and 5 from, it looks like, the Eagles' 10-yard line, Tom, as they continue to drive here into the fourth quarter. And one more score would make this very interesting. That's for sure.
It would. And I have to say, all credit to the run game, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. Swift, 113, Kyle Monangai, the backup, the rookie, 117 from him. They're doing on 14 and 16 carries respectively. They just had I believe they picked up the first down on this quick play to DJ Moore. I will say, I did talk about Swift for a second touchdown. So they are inside the 5-yard line. I would love to see Swift here. A part of me thinks they'll give it to Kyle Monangai just because he's done such a great job in this game with 117 yards. They'll give him a chance to score. But I would love to see Swift. It is Monangai, but what are you going to do?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's and there it is. I mean, kind of untouched, and almost as if the Eagles were like, all right, just go ahead and score. Yeah, go ahead and score. Let's see if we can't get something going. But I'm curious. I mean, what now with that? Because that was another 11, 12 play drive, 7 minutes. What is the time of possession here, Tom, in this game? It's got to be over the 3-1.
Let's see quickly. It's 31-14, 32-15.
That is unbelievable. And if it wasn't for the turnovers there, my goodness, unbelievable how dominant this Bears offensive line and front has been in the running game, and the defense doing what they've done all year. Get the turnovers when it matters, And, you know, because that there was a turnover now, and they scored a touchdown out of it. And now you're going to have a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I don't know that it changes the way the Eagles are going to run, you know, the rest of the way. They still need a score. They can't play for field goals. Are they in four-down territory, Tom, at some point here?
I think they have to be in four-down territory the entire time, because the way this game has gone with the running success that the Bears have, you know, this is a chance where, so we have, let's just call it almost a full quarter left. Joe, Caleb Williams has 31 pass attempts. How many more do you think he has? If he ends the game with fewer than 35, would you be surprised if they just run the ball 75, 80% of the next offensive plays that they have? They just don't let him throw it because they're just going to try to eat up clock.
That's what I'm thinking. I like my I'm thinking that as well, too. But you're going to drop them back, and now the Bears may very well just be bringing the house here on every play to put pressure and force Hurts to do something. But it is not good, and they have not been on the field to make a difference in this game at all. So this is going to be very fun to watch how it all unfolds here in the final, 12 minutes here of the game. But right now, the Bears very much in front now, 17-9, 33.5. What are you seeing for the total, Tom? 34.5?
Yeah, I'm seeing it up at 36.5. So it is up there. And it is juiced to the over -132. The under is +100. So, a lot going on at this point. The 7.5 was just way too much. And, we agreed on that. Like I said, we like the idea of taking the Eagles in game, but 7 was way too much.
Way too much. All right, we got more in-game live game day straight ahead on.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio, and, well, a big third down, Tom. We're going to learn quickly. Going to be about a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 from the Eagles' 25-yard line or so, and there was a pass where Devonta Smith had a good 2 steps on the receiver, and Jalen Hurts short-armed him. and missed the throw. It was incomplete, but my goodness, what could have been here for both sides. Neither quarterback playing great in this game, which hence the 17-9 score right now.
Yeah, and we have another short play short of the sticks. So we're looking at 4th and 2, 4th and 3, but they're at the 28, 29-yard line. Can they go for it on 4th down?
And they can't stop anybody, right? That's like, what are you doing?
The play calling to have a route being run shorter than the line to gain is what infuriates me across the league. It's 3rd and 7, and you're running a 3-yard route. You need to have a 6-yard route at minimum. So that infuriates me. The Eagles are punting, and the Bears have jumped out to 6.5-point favorites, and they're minus 590 on the money line.
And now they're going to have to go back because I think it's a delay a game or offsides or some sort. So they're going to back them up. Now they're going to punt. Just not good. Not good and on any level right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's getting ugly, and the boos are going to be coming down here. So get ready for it. But again, 9 points here in this spot 11 minutes ago. And I do think, let's face it, the Bears have a pretty good opportunity here. I think they're going to start with pretty good field position, right? Probably around the 30, 35-yard line. Keep running the ball, because if they haven't been able to over 200, close to 250 yards on the ground, this defense has got to be gassed by Philadelphia with that kind of time of possession here. We're talking 35 minutes they've been on the field.
I can't remember the last time any team has had 2 runners, and Mononga is at 121. DeAndre Swift is at 113. It's realistic that they have 2 runners go for 130 in a game. It was the last time an NFL team had 2 different runners going for 130. Like, we have seen Saquon and Henry and Jonathan Taylor and all these guys go for 130, 150, 200 on their own. But to have 2 different runners go for that much is a testament to, the offensive line. Really, the play calling has been straightforward and simple, but the Eagles' defense has been terrible. The thing that they've been able to hold their hat on the majority of the season when the offense has struggled, the offense is struggling, and now the defense is looking terrible on top of it.
This is going to get real interesting here. Let's see if they can. If I'm them, I'm going to have to crowd the box, and I'm going to have to do anything and dare Caleb Williams to try and beat me deep. I mean, that's it. There's really nothing else, I think, at this point, because that front 4 not getting it done for the Philadelphia Eagles, at least not on the ground here. All right, a quick check-in. They're getting ready to start the second half. And again, I mean, give credit to Georgia Tech. They've had some opportunities, but haven't been able to put any points on the board outside of that field goal. But it's 13-3, Tom, in this one. And where are the points coming in the second half? Because Georgia Tech done a pretty good job here. Georgia needs to win this game to keep up with the Joneses. But Georgia Tech giving them a run for the money. 27.5, 28 for a second half total. What are we thinking?
Oh, at this point,
are we getting 4 touchdowns?
We had 1 in the first half. Are we going to get 4 in the second? Now, there's a part to say that, Georgia's going to have to take more risks on defense. They're going to have to blitz a little bit more, try and cause a turnover that can obviously create a downfield play or some type of opening that allows Georgia to have a quick strike. But then once Georgia has those quick strikes and they have them beyond arm's reach, they may be pushing it on offense just because they don't have to. So I'd be hard pressed to see 30 points in the second half alone.
Yeah, I think I'm going to fire on that under. I might even look at. We'll take a look at the team totals too, because maybe there's some value in looking at. Listen, Georgia Tech. If the scoring's coming, is it finally by Georgia in this one? Because Georgia Tech has had a hard time finding some yards here, and Haynes Kings has been under duress for most of this game so far. So we'll see exactly what's going to happen in that one as they get ready to start the second half. And we got much more to get to, including a couple of big games here still tonight to come. Texas A&M taking on Texas. We'll break it down for you, give you the latest as In-Game Live Game Day continues on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game day here on the SportsGrid Network. A big 3rd and 4 coming up here for the Bears, trying to extend this drive 17-9, but that clock is not their friend right now. But the good news is they do have, they got the first down, so things are going from bad to worse for the Philadelphia Eagles. Much like this show, as we welcome in Nick Hamady joining us here. Always a pleasure to have Nick on the show, so we can turn our attention here and talk a little NBA, my man, because we were mentioning it before. This NBA Cup thing is I love the concept, love what they're doing. Not all of these NBA Cup games tonight have any ramifications. A lot of teams that are already out of it are still playing, so it's nothing more than like a Friday night game. But there are some games that have a little bit of juice here tonight. And I mean, tell me the one game that is most intriguing to you tonight. I can't believe Memphis and the Clippers are somehow still in the NBA Cup situation. I can't believe OKC is laying 16 points against Phoenix when it doesn't matter what they do in this game, they're advancing. So what's the game that you think sticks out to you the most here tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to take a peek at a good team versus a bad team. I feel like I've had better luck with that, especially as of late in the cup action. I'm going to look at the 76ers and the Nets to go over the first quarter over of 57.5. The 76ers somehow, they've had a good season so far, but they still rank 28th in the league in first quarter points allowed, and they're going up against a Nets team that I think everybody knows at this point is absolutely terrible. The first meeting between these two teams had 77 points, sailed over 57.5 by 20. So I expect another big first quarter out of the Nets and the 76ers. The 76ers have been fun. They played a fast rate and a fast pace, and I expect that to continue. With the competition picking up, I'm going to stay away from the full game total. But, first quarter over here.
As we turn to some of the other games, one game that caught my eye would be the Cavs taking on the Hawks because, the Cavs are still not eliminated at this point. They're laying 6.5, but we know the point differential can come into play in terms of them clinching. So I'm playing the Cavs at -9.5 at +128 instead of -6.5 because they do need to run up the score in order to potentially secure their spot. Do you like that look, or do you just like this game overall?
It's tough because the Hawks have been undermanned all year, but they found a way to figure it out. It seems like the Hawks are one of those teams that they play hard. I saw them in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. They put on a show late in that game to come back and get the win. I wouldn't fade the Hawks. I think 10's a little bit steep, but I understand where your head's at there because, like you said, you see teams with like 16 seconds left still putting up points, especially when winning for this point margin in the in-season tournament. I don't think that the point margin matters as much. I'm not going to go as high as a 9 or 10 points here. It's probably a stay away from game for me. I did take a look at the over in that game. The number was just a little bit too high for me to actually take. And as we mentioned, it might be a little bit more competitive being that it is a in-season tournament game.
Okay.
I think the Orlando-Detroit game is fascinating, too, with, two teams very much alive for the NBA Cup here. Orlando's won 7 of its last 9 without Boncaro. They won't have him here tonight. They're getting a lot of, production from everybody else, which is great. Yeah. But, this is their 3rd straight road game. And Detroit only lost because, Boston had to make 21 threes in order to make it even close. They are really good at home, but this opened up 5.5, and it's been nothing but Orlando money here because I'm seeing 3s available. And I got whoa, can we pump the brakes on Orlando here? It feels like pretty good spot to back Detroit.
It does. And like you mentioned, Orlando's a team that just relies on their role players every single game. They've been another team that's just been banged up throughout the season. We haven't seen them at full strength, so I wouldn't worry that much about that. But I will say this, Detroit's a team right now that for whatever reason, without Malik Beasley for, unknown reasons right now, they've still been able to get it done, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I thought they would struggle a lot more without Beasley in the lineup to spread the floor a little bit. But a game that I am looking a little bit more zeroed in on is the Bulls versus the Hornets. It's another game that has a really bad team in it. The Hornets are absolutely terrible. I'm looking at this first quarter as well to go over 60.5 against a Bulls team that their announcer's the most fun in the league. Every time they're winning a game, they're must-see TV. The Elizabeth calls are my favorite of all time, probably. But with a total approaching 250 for this game, the first quarter was something that had a little bit more of an edge for me. You can get it at 60.5. Both teams allowing over 32 points per game in the first quarter this season. Charlotte's the 2nd worst defense in the NFL or NBA, excuse me. And they're the 2nd highest first quarter scoring team, which is shocking with how bad they are. They have a lot of games fall apart late for them. LaMelo and Brandon Miller being back for Charlotte, it's a lot of fun. Praying that the Wolves don't make a move for LaMelo Ball anytime soon. But in this game, I like it to go over 60.5 in the first quarter.
Now, what are your thoughts on the Knicks and the Bucks? Because both teams are still, in it. Neither team's eliminated. The same thing I would say would be about the Nuggets and the Spurs. Both teams still in it. Do you have your eyes on either of these games, knowing that these teams should still be going out there trying to grab the win in advance?
It's tough. The Knicks are a team that they should be, right up at the top of the Eastern Conference for sure. But the Bucks are a team that are very confusing. It feels like whenever I fade the Bucks, they find a way to have a real showing and get it done. And every time I put a little bit of trust in the Bucks, they lose by 20. So I don't know. Again, I'm taking another weird angle. I'll give you another random game that I'm looking at here with Luka Doncic to go over 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think the revenge angle here is kind of being undervalued. I think that Luka is going to try to stick it to the Mavs pretty good here. He's 9-4 to the total this season on 53.2 average for points, rebounds, and assists. This being an NBA Cup game means that the margin does matter, as you guys have mentioned. I trust Luka to stay in this game and just absolutely destroy the Mavericks. And one more icing on the cake for Nico Harrison.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. I can't. Yeah. Well, team total on. Well, Lakers won't play any defense on that. And by the way, Giannis is questionable again tonight for the Bucks, but who knows if he's actually going to play or not. If I'm him, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Maybe I'll stretch this out a little bit longer here. By the way, Nick, congratulations. I heard you're starting for your Minnesota Vikings this weekend. Great job. That's great. Maybe some sort of phantom concussion can hit you as well before it's all said and done. But it just feels like, are we sticking up? Everyone thought it's the Sam Darnold revenge game. you know, that Minnesota defense, who knows him better than those guys on your sideline there for the Vikings? What is this really going to be, just a blowout? Is Darnold just going to throw all over this defense?
Joe, just when I thought I couldn't lose more of your respect, I do have to remind you I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so we came up in the winning column this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I do have an angle on this Vikings game because I think this Brosmer start is hilarious, and I've been having so much fun making fun of Viking fans this week about it. I'm going to look at Sam Darnold in a revenge spot game. Let's keep the revenge thing going. I think Sam Darnold goes over 1.5 passing touchdowns in this game. I think this game will be played like an in-season tournament NBA game. I think the Seahawks are going to try to destroy the Vikings. I think Darnold's going to make a statement here for not giving him a contract. I love Sam Darnold to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns in this game. Minnesota has only faced 2 offenses in the top 10 in EPA all season. The Seahawks are 4, so they'll bring some mean reversion back to this this Vikings defense that has probably given up with what's happening on the offensive side of the football.
Well, speaking of the NFL, is there anything else that catches your eye this week? Because we have some big totals. We have some, what I would consider weird lines. I don't like the Falcons on the road laying points. Is there anything that catches your eye this week in what has been a crazy start for some games dating back to yesterday?
Yeah, I think with props, especially around the NFL right now, you got to start looking at the weather. So I will say keep an eye on the weather for this one. But Drake May to go over 242 passing yards. Drake May's 9-3 to this number this season. The Giants are not great on the defensive side of the football. Jameis Winston's kept them interesting. Whoever plays quarterback, the Giants can score. I'm looking at Drake May over 242.
Oh, Nigga Amity, bringing it, my man. We appreciated it.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. And Tom, where are we at here in what feels like, final 3 minutes in the fourth quarter with the Eagles down, too much. 24-9 right now is what the Bears are on top, but they are right around, the 5-yard line here? Could be a little too late.
That's what it's certainly looking like, and it looks like a second touchdown for A.J. Brown. So he's having a massive day. He's up to 9 for 115 and 2 touchdowns. But to your point, it's too little too late. I will say it looks like they're going to go for 2. That would put them to 17 if they convert. They have the 2-minute warning, and they still have 3 timeouts. So it's long. It's a long shot, but they're still alive.
Where are they as far as, again, so 15 and 24? So, yeah, this is interesting for anybody that had maybe the over pregame, right, Tom, which was 43? So this is big here to see exactly what's going to happen. That's for sure. And I don't know that the Bears are coming all over the place, and it looks like they did not get it, right? So 39 points is what we have right now. Next, wow. I mean, that was a huge extra point miss, and that's a huge 2-point conversion miss because a field goal doesn't do anybody any good from a total perspective either, unless, of course, you have the under.
No, of course. So if they had made the first extra point, I would assume they would have just gone for the extra point here, and it would be 24-17, and we would be looking at just a touchdown in order to tie the game. But now we're looking at 9 points. Like this is now, I'm going to say, unobtainable. It's unattainable for the Eagles at this point. So special teams, kickers always coming through to the dismay of many. But a missed extra point started the snowball. And now we're looking at a very clear under in what could have been looking like a spot that you actually could have stuck through the over on this game.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of crazy, and it looks like the under very much in play because the Bears could do one of 2 things here. They can just wind this thing down and run out the clock with the running game, which is what they've done most of this game anyway. And at worst, they kick a field goal. Great. That's still not going to help anybody get over. I just don't know how much more opportunities the Eagles are going to have even to score a touchdown unless, the Bears, they break one off here. But I'm still saying, what's the in-game spread here at 3 with 3-10 and a 9-point lead here? What could it be?
It's 8.5. So we're looking at 8.5, and it's 39.5 for the total, but it's juice 144 to the under. So the only thing going for the Eagles right now is that they still have the 2-minute warning and they still have 3 timeouts. That is it. But
correct.
Again, you have to get a stop and then a score and then a stop and then score again. There's 3 minutes is not enough to do that because you're going to burn all the 3 timeouts to get through to the first score, and then you just won't have them for the second score. It'd have to be score, onside, plus a recovery. Like there's so many things working against the Eagles at this point that, could they score one more? Or as to your point, the Bears get a field goal? Sure, but again, that doesn't do anything.
Doesn't help you at all. But it's clear that the Bears are in position A. If you took the 7 points, like we told you there in the beginning, this game is over as far as that goes. You can cash that ticket, 24-15. But now looking ahead here, no matter what happens in this one, yeah, man, it's this Eagles team. Not good here. You thought maybe you'd get a little better, a little home cooking against what everyone thought was a overrated Bears team. Well, they're not overrated on the ground here. It feels like with the schedule coming up, even it's tough sledding here for the Eagles. I mean, could we have both Super Bowl teams not in the playoffs this year here, Tom? Is that possible?
Oh, that is a good question. The Eagles did go onside. The Bears recovered it. So that is one note. They have Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Commanders, the Eagles, that is, to close out the season. So, Chargers, that's a coin flip game. They're at Chargers. Raiders, they should handle business. And really, they should be handling business against the Commanders both times. So 3 more wins on the table for them, I think, is realistic. Maybe they don't play their starters in Week 18 if they have things locked up, but 10 or 11 wins, I think, is a reasonable expectation. I think that's good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not going to go in with any amount of momentum or confidence, at least from a public perspective.
No, well, they're not. But I'd also be careful with the Commanders because the Commanders You got McLaurin's been practicing. Noah Brown's been practicing now. So, and Mariota, say what you want, is still the best backup quarterback in the NFL right now. And when fully healthy and weapons are available, all of a sudden, the Commanders aren't going to be an easy out if they've got all of their offensive weapons available to them down the stretch. So, it could be some tricky spots here. I think it's a tricky spot Sunday against Denver. I think that's a tricky spot. I think it's going to be the Eagles with this offense. Listen, Washington, if they get everyone back, they'll have Debo. They'll have that's a very dangerous offense to fall behind on. All of a sudden, what do you do then? So, it's this Eagles team is sitting here going, oh, we'll be fine. But will you be fine, though? Really, Tom? Maybe a no on the Eagles making the playoffs at plus money?
It depends on how much plus money. And does 10 wins get you into the playoffs this year? That's the question in the NFC. Does 10 win get you into the playoffs? Because we know it's looking dark for the Chiefs, to your point of, 2 Super Bowl teams from last year not making it. But 10 wins in the NFC might be enough. And I don't think two teams from the South aren't going to make it, right? We're going to have 1-2 teams from the West at least. It's going to be close.
Yeah, boy, this is going to be real interesting down the stretch. And from what we've seen from the Cowboys, could they actually make a run at this? We'll look at that schedule as well as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here as we look to close out another hour together, but we got a lot more to go over, including a couple of big ones tonight in college football. Here, all eyes will be on the state of Texas with Texas A&M looking to take on Texas in Austin. Should be a good one, but right now we got a pretty good one in Georgia at the Mercedes-Benz Dome there with Georgia Tech being able to get a field goal has now made it a one-score game. It's 13-6 in that game, an absolute dead under, Tom, that nobody thought we were going to get. But here we are, and Georgia not running away with this game in any way, shape, or form. This one is going to be interesting. 3 minutes to go in the third, and I think that's about all she wrote. What do we got happening with the Eagles and the Bears right now?
They're just out of the 2-minute warning. It's 3rd and 5 for the Bears. Eagles have no timeouts. They used them all on this drive. Whether or not the Bears get the first down, I think is inconsequential when it's all said and done. Because, again, This is still a game. It's still 9 points. So even if the Bears get backed up because of a penalty or a false start and it's an encroachment.
That's great. They got the Eagles to jump off sides on 3rd and 5 to give them a first down. Wow. And no less, it was Carter, I believe, Jalen Carter, who's right over the ball. It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yep. So going from bad to worse in Philly.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to see the Bears cover and win outright, and we're going to see the under hit. 2 minutes left. They're going to, whether they get the first down again is inconsequential for Kyle Monungai. So it is going to be 4th down. It's going to be 4th and 5 from the 30. You think they take the field goal here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take the field goal. No, they'll go for it. I'm sure they'll go for it because I think this is where the wind is. And then it was howling. So I think this is where they'll go for it 4th and 4. Yeah.
If they get the first down, they just need out and the game's over. So this is the winning play, I believe, whether or not. Yep. So that game's over. You had the Bears, your winner. You had the under, your winner. Just an absolutely terrible set of games from the Eagles. But Joe, to your point, it has been also a dead under in Georgia Tech. 36.5 live total is what we're looking at with juice to the under as we're approaching the end of the third with 4:33 left. It's tied up in San Diego State and New Mexico, game that we had our eyes on before, looking at the under in that one, 17-17. And you were talking about North Texas. They are up 38-14 over Temple about midway through the third in that one.
Yeah, and that is, again, win and you're in the American Athletic Championship game, in all likelihood going to face Tulane with a winner. Could very well be, could very well be part of the college football playoffs. Is they have to have one of the group of 5, right? In a time, I think the way it is. So the question is it come from the American Athletic? Will the Mountain West, will it be San Diego State or New Mexico? And what about James Madison, who's probably going to finish 13-1, Tom, out of the Sun Belt? And how come nobody's talking about it? Could very well be there on the outside looking in. So the committee is going to have some choices and some things to figure out here when it's all said and done. But any losses here by, I don't know, let's say Texas A&M, I think this is going to be real interesting to see how this goes out. And by the way, they didn't even run the ball. They threw it. And, of course, he threw it into the ground, which is a shocker there. So a minute 12, the Eagles will get the ball back. I don't see a lot happening here, down 9 points. But the over tickets are going, let's go.
The one thing I will say is, do we know what Hurts's pregame number was, passing yards? Because we looked at it in
11.5.
11.5. He's at 190. So if you were rooting in a Hurts over yard, that is very much alive. Smith is only at 48 yards receiving. It's very conceivable that he picks up 20, 30 yards, whatever it might be on this drive that could cause him to go over. Goddard's only got 5 yards. So if you're playing some of these guys, A.J. Brown's at 114, so he went through all his numbers. But to see a player pick up an extra few yards in literal garbage time as Hurts runs the ball, someone's going to be cashing a ticket somewhere.
Yeah. That's holding, too. That's likely coming back. So now a minute 4, and I don't know that that's going to hold up there. But, yeah, that's holding. So that is coming back. The Eagles. Now going to drop to 8-4. The Bears. All right, so now it's the Bears and it's the Packers. Who wins the NFC North there, Tom? Because I'm done with Detroit. We'll have that conversation when we come back. We got another hour for you, getting you ready for a big night as In-Game Live Game Day continues.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
On down. All right, welcome in-game live game day here on this Friday. A little Black Friday. Hopefully you got a little shopping done. You recovered from all the turkey and fun there yesterday. And, well, not a whole lot of fun for the Philadelphia Eagles right now, I'll tell you that. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio here on the SportsGrid Network. And I think that's all she wrote there, Tom. Game over, 24-15. The Bears, as a touchdown dog, go into Philadelphia and get it done in a big way. And I want to say outside, forget about Caleb Williams. But the running game of this Chicago Bears team and what they have been able to do, what they did to this defense of the Eagles is silly because I didn't have that on the bingo card, expecting them to give up well over 250 yards of rushing between 2 guys on the Bears? That's absurd, Tom. Absurd.
125 for Swift, 130 for Monangai. This now makes it 4 straight games, Joe, dating back to yesterday, that the underdog has won outright. So if you like betting favorites, it has been a rough start to the holiday season. Underdogs just getting too many points. And there's an argument to be made that, they may not win games, but it's going to be close and they can be in it. So taking points is something that I generally prefer. Laying points has to be a really specific situation, but the under and the Bears, and I will say, we mentioned it, Hurts picked up a lot of passing yards on it. So he ends with 230. So he goes over his passing prop due to garbage time. And, he has 2 passing touchdowns. A.J. Brown picked one up there. Smith, they all picked up some yards there, him and Goddard. So if you got the over on Hurts, congrats on that one. But it was a dead under for that. As we turn back to college, there's also been a dead under in Georgia Tech, as we are looking at a low live 33.5 as we're approaching the end of the third. We're halfway, where the total has been cut in half from where it was pregame, up at 60 or so.
Wow. It has not been pretty in any way, shape, or form. The Mountain West de facto championship game between San Diego State and New Mexico, that too has been, we had early scoring and then the defenses have just taken over. It's 17 apiece there with about 12 minutes to go. Both these teams looking to punch a ticket to a Mountain West championship game. And boy, it's a good one right now at 17-all. But of course, tonight's big game, Texas taking on Texas A&M. I am seeing threes starting to pop up in the marketplace. It's been bouncing back and forth, 2.5, 3. I'm starting to see some threes as the Texas A&M money is coming in, 52.5 as a total in this one here tonight. Tom, were you leaning A&M to go on a road and get it done? Are we big believers that A&M, this is the year they're going to run the table in the SEC?
If I could get a 3 with Texas, I'm seeing, mostly 2.5s right now. If I could get a 3, I wouldn't mind that. But it's more play on the number rather than a strong amount of confidence in Texas. And, frankly, I don't see Texas wanting to turn this game into a shootout. So if I were to be backing Texas, I would also have some type of play on the under.
Yeah, look at the schedule at A&M, and that's the problem. Yes. I'm thinking we might get a crazy little shootout here tonight in this one because I just keep looking at the A&M schedule and who have they beaten? An awful LSU team had no coach. Arkansas, no coach, awful defense. Florida already fired, awful coach. Mississippi State, not. Auburn fired. I'm going down a list of the teams that Texas A&M is beating, and I'm going, have they played anybody in the top 10, top 15 in the country yet? Mizzou didn't have their quarterback. What are we doing here with this A&M team?
The only win you could really hang your hat on would be Notre Dame earlier in the season, and that's when Notre Dame got off to a very slow start, and they, who they are today.
No, I mean in the SEC. You mean just name one top team in the SEC they've beaten?
None at this point. It's none, and even non-conference games have been no one. So so you're saying you like the over because they haven't been tested on defense?
I don't think they've been tested nearly with the kind of athletes and the ability. I think that, Sarkisian at home, this is a tough spot. But again, no Georgia. They didn't play Alabama. Go down the list here. They didn't play any of the teams that can put up points in the SEC, the better teams. This could very well be. I think Texas offensively should have some success here.
Okay. And, retrospectively, this is always interesting, the offseason conversation. Which team, enough talent, and also gets the chips to fall in their favor in terms of the schedule where they can break off some long win streaks. So I'm not saying you love them to actually win the national championship, but a ticket on a team like that has the schedule set up and enough talent to get you too close to the window is a good ticket to have at the end of the day. If you are holding an A&M preseason ticket to win the national title, that's got to be looking great right now, and it could leave you some outs.
I'll just say there, look at common opponents, right? A&M beat Arkansas 45-42. What did Texas just do to Arkansas? They beat them 52-37. So points are coming, I think, in this one, one way or the other. I think we're going to get some points in this game, but I'm also going to be, because when you look at the quality of competition, Texas played Georgia. They played Vandy. They played Oklahoma. They have a much, they opened up the season against Ohio State. Texas's path has been a lot more difficult than what A&M has, and I think this is going to be a big test for them here tonight. I don't mind the over, but would you be shocked if Texas wins this game?
No, of course not. That's why I said if I could get the 3 with Texas, I would certainly play that. I'm still seeing a 2.5 on FanDuel. It's still 2.5 on DK as well. Of course, shop for the best lines available. If you get that 3 out there, that's certainly a play on Texas.
Wow. I agree. I think that's a good way to look at it there. We still have a 13-6 game heading into the fourth quarter now. Georgia only up a score. Yikes. Kirby Smart, 7 straight wins against Georgia Tech, but he's not convincing anybody in this game here that they have everything under control by any stretch. And then you have another one in the Big Ten tonight, though, quietly under the radar. Purdue at home taking on Indiana. Now, you know, Tom, as I know, the public is going to be all over Indiana. But we also know that Indiana on the road has not been that dominant team that they have been at home this year. I'd be interested to see. I mean, are we anticipating a 30-point win by Indiana?
I would say no. And Indiana's obviously the turnaround they've had over the past 2 seasons is unbelievable, really, and just what the program has done. But, you know, 30-plus points is always a lot to lay, especially on the road, to your point. So, Purdue in the under, that's where I would lean. I really like, an in-game number. If you can get it past 30 on an in-game number, that would be fantastic, because Indiana, they get up and then maybe they take their foot off the gas because they know the game's won and it's buttoned up at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at it here. Wisconsin, last game, they were a 28.5-point favorite. They won 31-7, didn't cover. Yeah. At Penn State, they were a 2-touchdown favorite, didn't cover, won by 3. Michigan State, they were a 26.5-point favorite, didn't cover that, 38-13. I mean, you just go down a list here and we're like, boy, oh boy, they don't tend to cover these big numbers here. In-game live game day, we'll have more next here on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Let's get you an update here. Georgia Tech moving the ball. Georgia kicked a field goal. It's a 16-6 game, 12 minutes to go, but they are almost at midfield here, Georgia Tech. A little bit of getting a little momentum here, trying to make it a one-score game, down 10 in that one. We mentioned Indiana and Purdue coming up a little bit later, as well as Texas A&M and Texas. But The game of the day was the Bears and the Eagles, 2 8-3 teams. Nobody gave the Bears any credit, but the Bears went into Philadelphia and just beat up on that Eagles defense. They ran all over them. They win. The Eagles now 8-4, and we're looking at a Chicago Bears team that is now 9-3. And you tell me, Tom, because how many more times do we have to see Detroit disappoint and go, this is not the Ben Johnson offense of, they pulled the guy off the couch out of retirement to get him back on there, Tom. That tells you everything you need to know about what's happening with this Detroit team. Now Amon St. Brown gone for who knows how long here. We already saw Williams drop how many passes yesterday when it mattered. And I don't know what to make of Green Bay either, but maybe the best team in this division is the Bears. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, are they the best by default? So looking at both of these teams, the Green Bay and Chicago, that is their end of the season schedules. So it's Chicago at Green Bay next week, Browns, then they host Green Bay, 49ers, Lions. Obviously, Green Bay is Bears, Broncos, Bears, Ravens, Vikings. So my question is, if the Vikings are out, and J.J. McCarthy's been terrible, but Green Bay may have an easy win to close out the season on their schedule. Meanwhile, the Bears don't. The Bears will be fighting the Lions in the last game of the season, and the Lions may not be mathematically eliminated at that point. So, can the Bears beat the Browns? Yes. Can they split the series with the Packers? Sure. The 49ers matchup is going to be the difficult one for them. Meanwhile, Green Bay ends the season on a potential cupcake against the Vikings. Sure, will the Vikings and their defense have something to say about it? But they just may not have the offense. If Max Brosmer is starting for the Vikings, they just may not have the push on offense to keep up with the Packers. So we may think the Packers may actually be the best. The Bears may be the best team, but the Packers are in the spot to win the division, I think.
Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, it's now 2 wins for Green Bay against Detroit. Detroit doesn't have any more tiebreakers. So to me, it's like, could Detroit be on the outside looking in if the postseason starts here? And absolutely, right? So then the question is, how many teams? I guess the only wild card, if we're just assuming that, all right, doesn't make a difference. Eagles have already won enough games by the skin of their teeth that they're likely going to get in with 10 wins one way or the other. But what about this Dallas team? Are you a believer in Dallas's schedule moving forward, that they can rattle off enough wins and get something done? Because it looks like Tampa's getting in by default. Talk about that division there, even though the injuries are starting to mount. But is Dallas, do they have a shot here?
I think they do. And, part of what I've been thinking this season is, I've said multiple times, I think the NFC West is this year's version of last year's NFC North, where 3 teams made it. And you're seeing the Rams, seeing the Seahawks and the 49ers all make it, because the 49ers, if we have a graphic for the 49ers schedule, they have a pretty easy run at things. And it really started this past Monday night against the Panthers. They play the Browns, and they have a bye. Then they play the Titans. So it's conceivable that they win this weekend against the Browns, have the bye, then win against the Titans. And they're just going to start picking up the wins that they need. And the Seahawks will have their wins. The Cowboys, Lions next week on Thursday, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders, Giants. So it's really going to come down to the wins, and it may come down to tiebreakers. It may come down to strength of schedule, conference wins, those sorts of things, because if they can beat the Lions next week, I don't think that's too much of a surprise. I probably think it's Lions -2.5, -1.5 at home. I still think it'll be close to a pick 'em. They can beat the Vikings if there's no McCarthy. Even if there is a McCarthy, he's been terrible. The Chargers game is a question. We talked about the Commanders. They end the season with the Giants. That's a spot for them to win. So I think it really comes down to conference schedule and conference wins for the Cowboys. But Joe, does the non-loss with the tie actually benefit them, because it doesn't impact their win-loss in a negative way, essentially?
Yeah, that's an interesting, right? How would that, and could you imagine it coming down to that and being the difference maker? Listen, there's no doubt Dallas seems to have figured things out. And I think it all begins with that defensive side of the ball. They got healthier. And I hate to give Jerry credit, but you got to give Jerry credit. Pulling out the whole Quinnen Williams trade and getting what he has. They've become a different team here, and we knew offensively they were going to be good. On any given Sunday, right, in a playoff spot, Tom, CeeDee Lamb and Pickett, that is all of a sudden an impossible task for teams here to pick your poison, and we're starting to see that come together. And Dak quietly having an MVP season here, and nobody's really noticing it because we all stuck a fork in Dallas already, which might have been a little premature.
Right, and to the credit of Dallas, like their offense has always been there, to your point.
Yep.
Javonte Williams, I wasn't super sold on him coming into the season, but he's been effective. And if he's effective enough, alongside Jake Ferguson, their tight end, who's been effective enough, to your point, you can't cover CD and Pickens. And then if those secondary guys are just doing their part, they're going to be able to move the ball. Because at times, Dak's going to find CD and Pickens open. And then you mix in, Turpin. We get him in some screen plays, bubble plays, whatever it might be. He picks up some chunk plays. No defense out there can cover it. The question would be, can Dallas continue to win games 31-28? Which is where they're comfortable. But can they continue to do that, such as at every game, week in and week out?
Going to be interesting. That is for sure. And as far as the other side there, it's bound to happen at some point, Kansas City. I mean, barring any sort of collapse, this could be the first time since 2016 that we're not seeing them in the playoffs in any way, shape, or form. It's been a hot minute, but it happens to everybody. Going to be interesting to see the second half, that is for sure. We have updates in the NBA, who's in and who's out. We'll give them to you as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio. Quick update. Couple of announcements here in the NBA tonight as NBA Cup action getting ready to start the top of the hour. The Milwaukee Bucks, who are mired in just a awful 6-game losing streak, taking on the New York Knicks. But the Bucks have been pretty good in the NBA Cup group. I think they sit at 2-1. That's exactly where the Knicks sit. So this is a pretty big game coming up at Madison Square Garden. And Giannis has missed the last 3 games. And, of course, the Bucks have lost every one of them. It looks like he's back now. He's been upgraded to available to play. And the market went from 8.5, it looks like, to 6.5. But I don't know that that's enough because it just feels like the Knicks at home should have more than enough to be able to get it done against a Bucks team that, outside of Giannis, what else is there to be excited about with the Milwaukee Bucks?
Ryan Rollins has been off to a good start this season. And, that's great to have depth step up. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. We're not getting do we really want to bet on Green Kuzma? Miles Turner's, a solid player. I don't think he's going to be able to control Cat though. Bobby Portis coming off the bench. There's not enough on the Bucks to draw me to them keeping it close, especially how bad they have been. Towns, Brunson, give me the scoring of Clarkson off the bench. I think the Knicks, especially now at 6.5, is a really nice spot. And as we talked before, I really do like the Pistons to bounce back today after I'm not going to say a bad loss to the Celtics the other day because the Celtics shuts the lights out, but give me the Pistons today. The Magic just don't have enough without Paolo Banchero.
And there's only so much distribution here. It's great that you've got Bane and others and everyone's sharing in it, but I don't think that covers it. It's one thing to do that to Philly. It's a whole nother thing, I think, to go to Detroit and get that done. I think styles make fights, and I'm with you. I don't think it's a very good matchup there for Orlando at all. So a lot of NBA Cup games going on. The Cavs taking on the Hawks. Them losing to the Wizards the other night is maybe one of the most head-scratching games. Well, just one of the worst losses you'll see. But they are home. They are getting, 5-6 points here against the Cavs. And the Cavs very much still in the NBA Cup spot here. And the Hawks played themselves out with that loss against the Wizards. Does Atlanta bounce back here? They've already beaten the Cavs, I believe, at home once already this year. Do they do it again in this fight? It feels like a lot of points here.
I told you, I'm playing the angle on the Cavs to win by 9.5. Right, and I'm doing so only because it's plus money. I think the Cavs at least try and run it up because that's the only – and again, this is like a very specific angle where the only route for them to advancing in the Cup is winning by margin. They have to win by margin. Yes. So I'm only doing it because it's plus money. And, part of me would think is if you did this enough times and had enough sample size, you would come through net positive on teams needing, in this specific situation of teams not eliminated yet, needing to win by margin. If you took them up a point or two and getting plus money in it, that's the key thing, then you would come out net positive. Am I taking the shot on the Cavs tonight? Yes. There's no Porzingis for the Hawks. Give me the Cavs by 9.5. It was a 6.5 line. It has moved to 7 that the Cavs are being favored by. If someone just objectively wants to take the Hawks, I see nothing wrong with that, but give me a Cavalanche tonight, as they say.
I like it. And, that Laker game is interesting because it appears that Anthony Davis back in action tonight here. Yeah, he's back tonight. The Lakers are an 11-2 run, but that's only because of their offense. Their defense is atrocious, and we know this. And Anthony Davis, going back to L.A., I don't generally like backing guys off a long layoff, but who's guarding him on the Lakers? He should be able to get whatever he wants, no?
He should. The only note that I would want to know is if he's under any type of minutes restriction or minutes limit, because that's the thing that would hold him back. They should be feeding him the ball when he's out there, but that is one thing to know. We should also update the Georgia game, as Georgia Tech just got a big sack on third down. Yeah. So they will be getting the ball back with 6:20, 6 minutes left. They're down by 10 points. So they need a quick score here against Georgia if they want to have a shot. But they look good at that 16.5 number right now.
They're looking very good there, but they got to be able to get some offense going, and they're going to have to go 90 yards here to get it done. And we are still tied. San Diego State and New Mexico at 17 apiece. More to get to as in-game live game day continues here on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live at Game Day here on the SportsGrid Network. It's getting interesting at the Mercedes-Benz Dome there between Georgia, number 4 Georgia, taking on number 3 Georgia Tech. It's 16-6 Georgia, and we've got a pass interference call here, which is putting Georgia Tech in a pretty good spot to at least get a score going and make it a one-score game. Whether it's a field goal or a touchdown would be very, very good here, but it is a 2-score game, 4:49 to go. And if you're looking for style points here for Georgia, you didn't get any in this game, man. Where has this defense of Georgia Tech been? You can't tell me they weren't looking ahead against Pitt last week, because this looks like a totally different team than the one we just saw get the snot beat out of them by Pitt last week.
It is, and I got to say, they got to get moving. Like, you can't be running the ball. You got to start picking up some yards. 432 and counting. They need 2 scores in this situation. They only have 2 timeouts. They got to get moving. Got to start taking shots to the end zone. As we've talked about a number of times, this game has just been a dead under from the start. If he took the 14.5 or 16.5 with Georgia Tech, that is certainly looking good right now. But they need to come through with a big strike, as we know, the deep throw of the end zone. And we get another flag here. So it has just been not a comprehensive game from Georgia when it's all said and done. Like, is this the game that they have their eyes set to the future, where they're just not minding their P's and Q's essentially?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because Georgia, again, going to need a little help by Auburn tomorrow in order to play for an SEC championship. But I do think a win here, they've already punched their ticket. We already saw Ole Miss beat Mississippi State today. They're not playing for an SEC championship, and voila, all of a sudden now, they also, depending on what happens with the announcement in Lane Kiffin tomorrow, they have also punched their ticket to the playoffs. So a lot going on here. Chaos could very much become part of the scenario. A lot of big games tomorrow starting at noon with Ohio State and Michigan, Tom, because let's face it, the committee is not leaving Michigan out of the playoff if they beat Ohio State tomorrow at home as a 10.5-point dog. They'd be a 2-loss team. They're not playing for a Big Ten championship either. but that will probably put them over the hump and bring them into the conversation. I'd be shocked if they beat Ohio State that they are not going to be part of the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm. So the field goal is up and in for Georgia Tech at 16-9. But yes, to your point, Michigan should be there. And, trying to think about, the chaos at this time of the year, there's so much up in the air. It's like, this is better than if things were all said and done at this point. If we were at this point of the year and we knew exactly who was going to be there, it would kind of be a bit of a letdown. We want the excitement of, should this team make it? Should they not make it? Now, there's a conversation to be had of what we got last year, where the first round in college football playoffs wasn't necessarily the most exciting, but you still want these teams to feel alive at this point, and that's what we should be looking. So, Michigan and the 10.5, as we had Tommy on before, you give me the 10.5 with Michigan at home, I like that. Do I like the 9.5 with Michigan that, we saw earlier today? Probably not, but a 10.5 with Michigan and the under, just the classic rivalry game, I think that's where it heads.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Big 12 to me is also fascinating, Tom, because you have Texas Tech and BYU likely on a collision course to play each other one more time. Now, Texas Tech blew the doors off of them the first go around. They're actually blowing the doors off of everybody. BYU takes on UCF at Provo. I believe they're a 17.5-point favorite in that game. They should have no problem handling business against a ridiculously poor UCF team. And I am fairly certain Texas Tech is going to have no problem winning by 30 against West Virginia, given the fact that the only game that they have not blown somebody out in was the game that they had to go with the backup quarterback where Morton didn't play, and that was against Arizona State. Otherwise, they have been favored by more than 2 touchdowns in 5 games and won every one of those games by margins of 60 points, 48 points, 31 points, 42 points, and 39 points. They are going to want style points because Texas Tech doesn't believe that they're guaranteed any sort of entrance into the college football playoff. But they have won 10 of their 11 games this season, Tom, by 22 points or more. Nobody has been more dominant than Texas Tech. And they had to win some of those games with a backup quarterback. But now that Morton's back in that running game and that defense, man, my goodness, Texas Tech is a bulldozer. And something tells me they're going to bulldoze West Virginia and likely bulldoze BYU once again. And they might be the best team nobody's talking about in the college football national title odds.
And what's funny to think is that coming into the season, the question we all had was, does anyone want to win the Big 12? Because it was just all up in the air. There was a handful of teams that, what were they all? 5, 5.5, 6-1. There were 7 teams there, and we didn't know who wanted to win it. I had hope for Utah and Dan Pierre to come through. That doesn't look like the case. That they've had a nice season when it's all said and done, but just not to the expectation that, or I was betting on them. But to see Texas Tech just roll through West Virginia, I think wouldn't surprise anyone. That game, and then, as we look down the slate tomorrow, are we just passing over, I don't want to say the Miami game, which we have talked about a little bit, but is there anything else that stands out to you? Because I was looking at some of these games tomorrow, and I'm like, we just haven't talked about Clemson in weeks, and we haven't talked about any of these teams in weeks, and it's almost surprising compared to where we started this season, where we had that opening weekend game, and it was like, okay, they have championship expectations, and that's just gone now.
Yep. Well, they're playing South Carolina tomorrow. And Clemson's already got their 6 wins, right? So they're already going bowling. All right. South Carolina's not. But South Carolina now has put it back. They finally got a little healthier. And this is a whole nother thing. Look at the scheduling of South Carolina. Like, it has been almost 2 months since they haven't played somebody in the top 20 in the country. As you go down the list, they have played a gauntlet of a schedule. They finally got to breathe last week against Coastal Carolina, and they won 51-7. So you want to compare ACC and what Clemson has had to play versus this is everything. I think the South, who has nothing to play for, but has everything to play for in this game, if that makes sense.
Right. No, and this is just what the scheduling is at this point. When, I mean, looking at what we've seen from them, A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, like what a murderer's row, essentially. And, starting off the season, a decent way, but is this the spot that you just want to lean into them, that they just show up and show with some pride to come away with the win? Like that's not too bad. That's not a bad look.
Nope. I like it. And who is Clemson to be trying? I mean, Clemson's been outgained in just about every game that they've had. They've snuck by and won. It's not a good defense. Yeah, I would not at all be shocked if South Carolina pulls the outright upset in that game, in that spot, because, again, this is it. That's going to be their Super Bowl of sorts, right, for them. Mm-hmm. And I think the Oklahoma game, too, where LSU is not going to have Nussmeier. It's the backup again. And how in the world, I mean, they averaged Western Kentucky, one of the worst defenses in the country, and they managed 13 points against them. How in the world are they scoring in this game, Tom, is what I want to know. LSU in a game that means nothing to them, going up against the top 5 defense in Norman against OU, who, again, is going to want to keep the impression of them being a juggernaut. I think it's going to be a long afternoon for LSU. I think they're going to run through. I think in Norman, I think OU is just going to run them over. Should be a lot of fun there. Should be packed house, too. We'll have more, though. In-game live game day continues here on the...
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Tom Vecchio as we are getting ready for, well, what should be a very interesting overtime right now. San Diego State, New Mexico. San Diego State wins this game at 9-2. They will go ahead and advance to the Mountain West Championship game. New Mexico trying to throw a wrench in that, 8-3 here. And overtime coming right now in that one. That should be a fun one to watch play out. We are getting ready, of course, for Texas at home, getting some points here tonight. Now looks like a field goal against Texas A&M. Indiana on the road laying almost 30 points now against Purdue, and that is a big ask. And then you got Arizona State coming up a little bit later tonight, Tom, and that felt like a good one to get an over in, because Arizona State, even though they lost their quarterback, Sam Levitt, earlier, they've actually looked pretty good with the backup quarterback that they have, who's been around, I feel like, forever, has been playing football in college forever. He was originally, I believe, with Georgia Tech back in the day. Jeff Sims is who it is. They've actually been pretty decent with him. I don't see any reason not to like Arizona State getting points, but I see even less reason to try to sweat out an under with these two teams. Feels like points are coming here.
I think, yeah, we're going to be on for points in that game. The game that I would struggle to have points would be Indiana-Purdue, as you mentioned. Again, we went through the games that Indiana has on the road. I think they're comfortable winning a game 31-10, right? That's fine. That's 31-13. Like, that's up their alley. They're in control the entire time. There's no threat of them losing at any point, but they're also not going to cover 30 points, essentially. So you give us a 31-13 final. Indiana loves that. They took care of business. They got the win. They get out, but they're not covering 28.5 points. So Purdue and the under, as we talk through things, liking the over for Texas and Texas A&M more now than I was, leaning towards the under. So Texas with the 3 and the over in that one, and then ASU and Arizona, I think that game goes up and away over 48.5.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a turnover. San Diego State throws an interception on their first play in overtime. Now New Mexico is going to get it, and that score wins. That is just awful for San Diego State there. But 2nd and 10, minute 55 to go. Georgia up 16-9 in this one here. One more first down will be all she wrote here, but less than impressive, shall I say, here by Georgia in this one. But Georgia Tech sitting at 9-2, likely 9-3, and they'll have a bowl game, but that'll be about it here for Georgia Tech. They're going to have to play the what could have been, because if they would have beaten Pitt last week, they at least would have been playing for the ACC championship, but not anymore.
So they got a big stop on second down there for a loss of 1 or 2 yards. So it's going to be 3rd down and 10 or 11. And, clock's winding down. But, man, credit to the Georgia Tech defense. They showed that stat line right before that last time. Gunnar Stockton was 11 of 21 for 70 yards today. I mean, you couldn't have written a better script if you were Georgia Tech of what you wanted to see tonight.
Yep. Could not have in any way, shape, or form. But what a kudos to them. Well played in that spot. But we got addition to plenty more college football games coming up this weekend. And it'll be interesting to see how some of these teams with not very little to play for, how they finish out the season. The NFL, we're getting news coming in across the board. Looks like Baker Mayfield is going to give it a go. There were some questions about whether or not it'd be him or Bridgewater in this game coming up in Tampa against Arizona. He looks like he's going to be able to go. I'm seeing 3.5s now in the market, and it does look like McLaurin is going for Washington. And just like that, most of their offensive weapons, except for Jaden Daniels, but Mariota's already proven he's more than capable of getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers. This is, I think, a very tricky spot for Denver coming up this weekend as well.
It is. And to touch on the Baker point, honestly, there's a part of me that wants to take the unders on his yards and on his attempts. And I know it's his left shoulder. Yep. It is an AC joint sprain in his left non-throwing shoulder, but still, do you want him throwing the ball as much as possible? To me, this seems like a game for the Bucs to be at home and right the ship. They lost to Buffalo 2 weeks ago. They lost to the Rams. They need to come away with a win at home. And to me, that screams risk aversion. Hand the ball off. They're supposed to be getting Bucky Irving back as well, who hasn't played since week 4 or 5. Between him, Rashad White, and Sean Tucker, you have enough options on the ground to run over Arizona, who has been terrible this year. So Baker throwing it, his prop is 230.5 and 32.5 attempts. Him throwing it 35 times seems like a failed game for the Bucs. And it probably means Arizona's live at that point if Baker has to throw it 35 times.
Yep, I agree. I think this is a good get-right spot for Tampa in this one. By the way, New Mexico just fumbled the ball back to San Diego State in overtime. So here we go again. So this should get very, very interesting here. And it looks like Georgia Tech going to get the ball back with about 21 seconds remaining in the game. Crazier things have happened there. Also coming up here is the Buffalo Bills. All sorts of issues on the offensive line. No offensive tackles. Both are out, I believe. Samuel's out. They brought in Brandon Cooks. The weather is not supposed to be great. You got Aaron Rodgers going to give it a go with a broken wrist on his non-throwing hand. This just spells absolute disgustingness in this game tomorrow on Sunday between Pittsburgh and Buffalo. It feels like it's going to be a rock fight. That's all it feels like we're going to get in that one.
It really does. And I was looking before for TJ Watt sack props because of this Bills offensive line news. I have not seen them post, at least on FanDuel, and DK obviously shop around, but I'm assuming it's TJ Watt, half a sack, minus 160. That's where Parsons and Hutchinson normally are, comparable players.
Like that. All right, we'll have some updates for you before we pass the baton. In Game Live, Game Day continues on the grid.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as we look to close out this edition of In-Game Live Game Day with you, but we got much more still to come. Tom Vecchio, Joe Raineri here, and on our way out the door before we pass that baton, we'll take a look here at some of these games tonight on the board. I know we had a big NHL slate tonight, plenty of NBA Cup action, couple of big college football games still to come. Tom, what did you like here on the board tonight?
I'm going with, at least in the NHL, we haven't touched on that too much. I'm going with the Blackhawks at home on the money line. It was minus 108 before. There's basically a pick 'em with the Preds. The Preds are a terrible team. There's no reason that they should be even close to a pick 'em on that. The Blackhawks are coming off a bit of a tough loss. I just like them in this bounce back spot. I'll be taking them there. As I said, I am taking the Cavs up a few points. I think they try and run away with things against the Hawks. Give me them, the Cavs, that is minus 9.5. Texas with the +3 and the over in that game. And then give me the Purdue side of things at +28.5 versus Indiana.
I kind of like that as well. I am, man, I got to tell you, I think they got an opportunity to fade. Looks like the total is getting pushed up here with A&M and Texas, by the way, as I'm now seeing almost 55s in the marketplace, right, Tom? Just like that craziness. But I do think that, call me crazy, I think Texas on the money line might not be a bad look, because they're either going to win this game, Tom, or they're going to get blown out. I think it's one or the other here. It's going to be either Texas wins and the place goes crazy, and next thing you know, total pandemonium heading into tomorrow, or A&M is going to win by 40. Either way, I think we go up and over that total here for sure when it's all said and done. I'm going to call another outright upset tomorrow, Tom, because I think Auburn is very live against Alabama. I think it's a very dangerous spot for them. We've already seen the money coming in, I believe, on Auburn. It was 6.5, and I think we're down to, 5.5 now in the market? Would not shock me at all. Very dangerous spot here for Alabama tomorrow. But ultimately, if Miami is going to get in, they're going to need some help somewhere. But they better go to Pitt, Tom, and handle business. You like the U to get it done against Pitt tomorrow?
I do. I think they just the pure talent on their side of the ball should shine through eventually. It may not be easy. It may not be pretty, but they will come through and they'll cover.
Yeah. I listen, Mario Cristobal's not been great laying numbers on the road against anybody, but I'm with you, Tom. It feels like it's now or never with this team here for Miami. So I do think they'll handle it. They'll get it done. They'll win. And then maybe they'll get a little bit of help because if SMU and Virginia win, they're playing for an ACC championship. If they both lose, well, anything is possible. That is for sure tomorrow. NBA action tonight, too. We talked about it. I think Anthony Davis back is interesting, but my goodness. I mean, are the Lakers team total just not an automatic over these days?
It has to be. And this is one of the things where, I don't know how many people like betting the same thing day in and day out, but if you bet the Lakers team total 82 times, like literally every game, you're going to come out positive, right? And you're going to go through the losses, but when they go through these stretches where they're constantly pouring in 125, 130 points, you're going to be getting to the window on those. And when we're playing an inept Dallas team that has shown us nothing this season, and combine the Luka revenge narrative, he's going to want to go out and drop 40 tonight. That's what he wants to do. He's have a 40-point triple-double and run up the score.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun watching it all unfold with the Lakers season, because there's no defense going to be found. They're going to have to drop 130, 40 points and be good to go. And I do think that, listen, as good as Oklahoma City has been, and what do they got? One loss on the season. This has been a feisty Phoenix team here, and I don't know that I'd be wanting to lay 15 points with them tonight, even though it's in OKC. I mean, OKC can win. They're going to win by over 2 touchdowns. It feels like there's a lot of value backing them in that spot, taking the points here with Phoenix. And what does Denver do at home? Does Denver handle San Antonio? Does the Joker get his triple-double?
You would like to think so, where they said, and this, again, both these teams are not eliminated in the NBA Cup.
Yes.
So they do have, potential or reason to be out there for a full set of minutes. Denver gets it done. I don't love the 7.5, though.
I'm with you. I did very iffy right there. All right, Tom, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games. Brady Cannon, Adam Kaufman coming your way in game live. Game day continues. Enjoy.